During development, it can often be handy to show data about the current scene that you're editing, or run some action that edits that scene. This is often done in Unity with an editor window, and Unity itself is made up of these editor windows. There's loads by default, like the inspector, the hierarchy, the project view. So in this tutorial, we'll look at how to create a simple one that checks the scene for some custom component that we'll make and prints out the number of those components that we'll find in the scene. This is just a preview of what we're going to create here. This editor window, which you could be able to dock, move around like any other window. And at the minute, it's printing out that there's 3 components in the scene. And all these are some custom component that I've created, which is just a default file that inherits from mono behavior. And I've attached it to 3 out of 5 of these objects, every other one. So it prints out that there's 3 in the scene, and if I take one off and update it, it'll update to 2. So let's get down to making it. So the first thing that you'll need to do is just to create this custom component script, which is just going to be a default C# script created in Unity. Just got that custom component. And then next we'll block out our editor window. So the editor window script has to live inside a folder called editor, and this is a restriction of Unity. So I'll just create another script here called tutorial editor window. If you open that up, so what we're going to do first is import the Unity editor namespace, because there's specific things inside this namespace that we'll need for to create our editor window. Rather than inheriting from mono behavior, which you might be used to doing in Unity, we're instead going to inherit from editor window and scrap off what we've already got inside there for a mono behavior. And then we're going to write a function which adds a drop down option to the top of the Unity menus and allows us to create our window. So to start off with, we write a static void function, which you can call whatever you want. Here I'll just call it init. And the important thing is above that is to have a menu item tag, and this is going to be what's displayed at the top of Unity as a drop down option. So we can call it tutorial editor window. You can give it whatever path you'd like in there. Then we're going to grab an instance of a tutorial editor window, and at the start there won't be one, so it'll create one for us. Do that with a get window function and pass it a type. And then on that instance that we've grabbed, we called show, which brings it to the front. Now if we jump back into Unity, we see that drop down menu is added there. So I'll create it as a window. It doesn't do anything at the minute. This is default Unity behavior. We can dock it, we can move it around. Let's get it doing something. One of the most important functions of a editor window is the onGUI function, which is called every time the window is rendered, and anything you put in here will be rendered to that window. And you do that using built-in Unity functions. So here if you do GUI layout.label, this will just draw a text label to the screen. So we can do a label of hello world. If you switch back to Unity, you can see that our editor window now shows hello world. Another one of the built-in functions that we use in onGUI, you probably use regularly, is a button. So if you do GUI layout.button and say update, this means that when the button is clicked, we'll fall through into this if statement, and we can just log out clicked. So every time we click this button, it's going to log click to the screen. So great, now if we get looking for our components, we create a function here that just returns the number of the custom components we can find in the scene. We'll have a variable here local to this editor window that just holds the number of the components that was last checked. Then when this button is clicked, we'll assign to component count by calling our function that we just wrote. And then inside our label, we can get this to print the number of components from the last update. If we take that for a spin, it's currently 0, but if we were to add a couple of our components here and update it, there we go. So this is obviously quite simple, but editor windows can become quite complex and quite interesting things. You can have editor windows that show all sorts of information about your scene. You can have them that run monotonous actions on all the objects in your scene. They can do all sorts of things. I hope you've enjoyed this little tutorial, and I hope your Unity editor becomes full of your custom editor windows. Enjoy!